Alyssa Orange joining us here on a Tuesday morning. Alyssa, good morning. It's
Hi, good morning, guys.
July's almost over. We're in college football limbo. What's that like for you right now?
Gosh, it's crazy to think about July being almost over. I feel like 2025 has flown by. And August is one of my favorite months. Not only is it the start of college football, it's also my birthday month. So no complaints for August getting here sooner rather than later. But, I think you kind of just look around and at this point, most media days are over. I know that Big Ten Media Day is happening right now in Vegas. ACC Media Day is happening too. And you're just kind of getting a feel for how everyone looks and how everyone could look, but there's not really much to go by based on outside of what you're hearing from these coaches and these players. And so for me, it's always fun because I think you hear some funny things and you learn a few things here and there about off-the-field stuff, but you really don't know about on-the-field stuff till they play in August.
So how do you handle, as somebody that covers Arkansas football and has covered college football for a long time, but this year's different, or at least it feels different just because of all the unknowns. And maybe last year had that feel to it, but there's more roster churn this year. And I've taken I'm not doing the preseason, here's how many wins Arkansas is going to get. I'm not going to go through the schedule and say win, loss, win, and all that kind of stuff because I just don't know. Everybody's still putting their votes out there. Everybody's still putting their opinions out there and everything because that's the exercise we've done in the last however long that college sport's been covered by sports radio. But this is different right now. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I get that. And I think when you look at that and then you try to put some expectations on a team that you don't just know much about, it's really difficult. I remember kind of laughing at Mike Irwin over the years because he was like, oh, I hate preseason predictions. But now I kind of get it. I think that when you cover a team for so long, specifically, as long as he has, he's like, what I say in August isn't going to matter. And if I think that they might beat, Ole Miss week, 3, and then they don't, do I look stupid? He goes, I just don't win, right? You don't win when you kind of do stuff like that. And but I think that you can kind of have a vibe and kind of feel about how you think the team is going to be. I think that the team is going to be better. I think Taylor Green is going to be better. What does better mean? You hope it's more than 7 wins, but at the same time, you look at the schedule and you're like, I don't really know. And that's where it's difficult. And so I think right now, the biggest things that you're talking about and you're looking at is, what can we talk and give the audience, bring the audience that's something different, that's something new, that's, something to keep their eye on as we head into fall camp. And then once fall camp starts, it's like, okay, then you can start saying, this is what I saw. You can actually have some tangible things to go behind the things that you are saying because you saw it a little bit at what we're able to see at practice. But this is kind of the year where you just have fun and take vacation. So that's kind of how July always operated for us. It was like, okay, how long does baseball last? Okay, that's great. Now we've got SEC Media Days. Okay, how long can we make this sound at SEC Media Days last? Great. Now when is people taking vacation?
I know, and last year you got to go across seas, so that had to be pretty cool as well. So I get it, everything you're saying right there, Alyssa. If we're going to say, how does this team, though, get to 8 regular season wins? Give me a reason why this team could, if it is explosive plays, if it's third down defense, if it's turnovers, limiting the turnovers on offense. I think last year we had 27 fumbles or something like that in the 12 games. So give me a couple ways this team could win 8 games.
Yeah, I think for Talon it's protecting the football. And for that offense to protect the football. You're not going to score points when you hand the ball over, right? On the other side of that, if you look back, and I know Landon Jackson talked about it, we talked about it some too, the games that they won the turnover margin, they won those football games. And that's just kind of how Arkansas has to operate. You're not going to dominate on the offensive side. You're not going to dominate just on the defensive side. It's got to go both ways, hand in hand, and I think specifically on the defensive side, their best success is being able to take the football away. If they can do that, they can win some football games. So those are the 2 big things for me. And I think that, too, there has to be some consistency. We just didn't see, and I'm not talking from game to game. Yes, that's important, but I want to see this team play a full four quarters of football. I mean, you can go back to so many games last year. Oklahoma State is the one that sticks out in my head the most. They had that game won, and they lost it in the fourth quarter and in overtime. If you can just play consistently a full entire football game, there are a lot of those games last year that they would have won. So those are my top three things.
I'm thinking a little bit about, I've heard how, and look, college sports has been so different in the last 5-6 years. Everybody's dealt with it. The change, you don't need me to describe everything that's happened in the last 6 years in college sports. Every coach has had to deal with this. Is there something about the Arkansas job that sets it apart, that makes it a little more challenging for Sam Pittman compared to anybody else in the SEC or college football? So I pointed out one thing. It's been the home schedule. And I guess you could say the schedule overall, which Sam isn't really responsible for in the way that the other coaches are on campus. But it feels, because you only have 2 home games out of the first 7 weeks. You had the same thing happen a couple years ago. I think if you're looking at and where the program was when he inherited it, I think those are the 2 things that stand out to me, because everybody else has dealt with NIL, transfer portal, COVID, if you've been around for 5 years now. But I think there's still been other aspects that's made this a more challenging job for him.
Yeah, it's the schedule. And we were talking about that. I was talking about that with a friend earlier today. I mean, you just look at, since I've been here since 2013, I think he was telling me that, they have just had the hardest schedule, and they really have. And then when you're someone who has been really to every one of those games for the most part, I've been here since 2013, it's been difficult. And I'm not trying to make excuses, but the schedule has been difficult. And then you're kind of dealing with things that just don't feel like the ball never bounces in your favor. But I just think too, I don't want to say recruiting, because you can get good players to Arkansas, but I think there's a little bit of recruiting and development too that has always just felt like, okay, they recruited well for a little bit and then it falls off, and then they recruit well for a little bit and it falls off. And that's going through different head coaches, right? Starting with Bielema, going to Chad Morris, and now going into Sam Pittman. You have these waves that it's felt like, gosh, they've had some talent, and now in NIL they can't keep that talent. And I hate to blame it on the money, but it's money. It really is. And Arkansas has to find a way to be competitive. I don't care what you say about revenue sharing. That money is going in and is just as quickly coming back out. You still have to be able to raise money in your collectives for NIL to close that gap with some of these other schools in the SEC that you should be better than, or at least on par with. And I'm saying A&M, Missouri, Mississippi State, Ole Miss.
And speaking of money, I guess it seems like the state was a little divided 10, 15, 20 years ago, definitely. But now it seems like everybody understands in the state that there's not going to be any more Arkansas football games in Little Rock. Are you okay with that too? Have you I kind of forget what your feelings were, but 100%, I don't think they're going to play any more games in Little Rock.
Yeah, I am probably not going to be people's favorite with this take, because I didn't grow up here going to those games like the Maricrol and Markham games and going to those atmospheres that Mike Leach would talk about when he said it was like one of the toughest places to play and it was super loud. I haven't experienced that. I didn't experience that because I didn't grow up here. But the Little Rock games that I've been to just kind of have felt, they've kind of fallen a little flat for me. And whether that's crowd attendance or atmosphere or the things around the game in terms of tailgating and all of that stuff, or just the game itself, once they stopped playing SEC teams there, it just didn't feel the same anymore. And so for me, I understand the appeal, but I just think they're better off playing that game at home because of all the advantages they get from playing another home game in Fayetteville, in your home stadium. And so, yeah, I'm okay with them not playing in Little Rock anymore, and I understand that probably going to make a lot of people mad with that statement, but I didn't experience what a lot of Arkansas fans experience who have grown up here their whole life.
BetOnline continues to be your number one source for all your sports betting action. And with baseball in full swing and football season right around the corner, BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting. From MLB, UFC to tennis and NFL futures, BetOnline remains your choice for sports wagering information. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. Head to the website today and take advantage of their industry-leading VIP program with level-up bonuses and weekly cash boosts. BetOnline. The game starts here.